Mute Shauna. Okay, you are unmuted. I'm going to find the little chat thing where I can. Do you see it now, Shauna?
I can keep the
Where
chat, but I still don't have where I can mute.
Oh, okay. It says mute mark. Okay, it's clicked. Yay. Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Okay, so when I first met Sunshine, she has been sharing, I would say, paradigm shifts from the beginning with me, and that was definitely a new term for me back in 2012 when we started hanging out together and learning together. So I am excited to hear more about what she has to share with us tonight on the paradigm shift and our belief system, what it is that we believe. And so I would like to welcome Sunshine Goodfellow for the paradigm shift tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I am going to tell you just a bit about me and how I got into this, and it's just simply because I've always been a different thinker. Like my brain has always worked different. My mother can, she can testify to that I've always been into different music. I've always thought different thoughts. And so it's been very natural for me to kind of challenge the status quo. And that ends up actually being part of my purpose here, is to challenge people's, not necessarily what they believe or how they live or anything like that, but just to ask good questions about what they are choosing and how they are choosing to live and what they actually desire in life. And so that's been part of my journey. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get, let's see, share computer sound. Got all that stuff. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so this is all about shifting your paradigm. And so we're going to just simply start out with something that I say at CARE. I'm actually a CARE certified instructor, so I can teach the whole entire 25-hour CARE weekend. CARE is the Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education. And at the end of the weekend, or during the process of the weekend, we teach emotional releasing. And oftentimes people are not comfortable with their emotions, and they can even be intimidated of their emotions, simply because you've probably heard, like, I've stuffed that so far down, I don't ever want to see it again, right? People say things like that, and I was guilty of that as well. So I went to that CARE class when I participated the very first time, and emotional release really freaked me out. But somebody that I respect really said something very wise. And so I share it all the time at my emotional release classes. And so here we are. So if you're in a place where you just learned about the law of vibration last week, we're kind of challenging your thought processes or what you desire in life during the mentor sessions, you might be thinking that you're not sure about what's being presented. You're not sure about the material. You're not sure how this fits in with your beliefs. And so you're trying to figure all this out. So I'm wondering, are these new ideas stretching your brain and your ideas? So drop me a comment if it is. I'm sure that you're not the only one, okay? So are you finding some things where you're like, well, how does this fit into my beliefs? And this is a new idea. Let me know. So, is this challenging for you? Has this been a challenging time for you? Yeah, open yet unsure. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It has to be different. Yeah. And somebody's very glad that we're addressing this. So we're going to dive into it. I've been on this journey for a while, and trust me, I question everything. Ask my mom, she can testify. Just like, oh my goodness. Anyway, I will never pay for my raising, which is a good thing. Yay! Woo. You'll learn why in just a little while, because I choose not to do that. So some other things, I have an exercise for you, and it's really, really easy. And I would like you to do this for the rest of the 5 months. You're going to be really challenged and really stretched. That's how we grow. So my encouragement to you is simply put it on a shelf. It's that easy. So you don't know what to think about something. You don't have to decide today. As I'm telling you about things, you don't have to make that decision today. All you get to do is receive the information, and you can do what you want with it. And so we're going to look into this and see how to do this. So I like this visual. She's putting it up there. It's pretty far up there. One of my friends said, put it on a shelf, because sometimes you find if you throw it away, you're digging through the garbage. Now, what did I learn about that? I learned about that about 5 years ago. And so you're open to it now, so it's a different thing because you have a different perspective. Has that happened to anyone? Go ahead and put in the chat box if it has, where you have had something that you didn't know about, you weren't sure about, and then sometime later you realized, oh, there is something to this, and maybe I should have kept those notes that I took or whatever. So yeah, some people are saying, yes, that has happened to me before. So just put it on a shelf. You don't have to assign good or bad to it or anything right now. You can just take the information, and then you can decide how you feel about it later. So one thing I like to do is to pray or decree or imagine or claim truth, and only the truth comes forward as you learn. So also declare that the Lord is in charge of your learning and your expansion. How about that? So if you put him in charge of it, then it's his responsibility to make sure you get the truth. I have books that I have written that in, right? I receive only the truth in this book. I receive only the truth in this teaching. I receive only this truth in this conversation. And so that allows you to be a little more free with the information that comes across your path. We're really programmed to be careful what we get into, right? However, if we have a strong foundation, we can really receive some information and throw out the garbage and take the meat, take the stuff that's really truthful or really pertinent to our lives. So I only receive the truth in this teaching, book, concept, etc. And you can just move forward that way. Okay, so let's take a look at what Scripture says about some of the stuff we're going to learn tonight. First thing is prove all things. Hold fast to that which is good. This is one of my very favorite scriptures, simply because it gives you the permission. If you need permission, which sometimes we all need permission to do certain things in our life, because it's like, is it really okay to do that? Yeah, prove all things. Like, prove it. And prove is to establish the truth, to give a demonstration of through action. So that's what proving is. So it is okay for you to discover what the truth is. And hold fast to that which is good. That's which is garbage, toss it. All right. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient. So demolish arguments and every pretension. What is a pretension? I have the definition. It's the laying of claim to something. So anything that lays its claim, that sets itself up against the scripture or the knowledge of God, then you can take your thought captive. So anything that's running through your mind that's not in line with some more scripture that we're going to look at tonight, you need to take that captive, every single thought of it, and make it obedient to the knowledge of God. Whatever you ask in my name, I will do it. That is Jesus. And really cool. There's a lot to that in John. He says a lot of stuff. But basically, the gist of it is whatever you ask in my name, I will do it. And so, You have to discover what is in his name and what's according to his name, because just because you ask it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It says in my name, and there's some precepts there that have to go along with what his name stands for. So call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. So there are things that we do not know that we can know if you call. So as you search out, you will get really awesome downloads. Okay, so let's look at the power the power of the spoken word. God spared Israel according to Moses' words. We're going to just look at some biblical scriptures that talk about the spoken word. So God spared Israel. Joshua spoke to the sun and the moon, and they stood still for a whole day, 24 hours. Elijah spoke to Zarephath, and her oil and meal did not run out. And that was for a long time. They all ate, her son, Elijah, and her. Elijah spoke to the heaven, and the heavens were closed. No rain for 3 years. He said, not until it's by the power of my word, not God's word, by Elijah's word, it will not rain. And it did not until he spoke again to allow the rain to come. Elijah prayed, and the fire consumed the sacrifice. Elijah spoke to the waters of the Jordan, and the Jordan was parted. So this is the day that Elijah was taken. He didn't die, he just was taken up, okay? And so the rest of these are this day, or the preceding days after that. So Elijah said he was not going to leave. The scripture is very interesting because people said, you know your master's going to be taken from you today. He's like, stop talking about that. Stop saying that. Speak no more, you know. He said that twice. And so he must have been really nervous or heartbroken, or, you know, he was losing his, well, it says his master, the person that he followed always. And so Elijah spoke, and the bitter waters were healed. He healed water from his words. We're going to learn more about that in just a minute. Okay, Elisha cursed some youths. I talked about this briefly last week. So this is the same day, I believe. Elisha was walking up, and, you know, I'm sure he was just heartbroken, really in a bad mood. Anyway, they were making fun of him because he was bald. They kept saying, go up, Baldy, go up, Baldy. And he turned around and he cursed them. And immediately 2 bears came out and mauled 42 of the boys. So just to let you know that your words mean a great deal. And even before that, your thoughts do. Okay, so let's look at the power of thought. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So again, we're proving. I mean, it's our responsibility to do that. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatever's honest, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever is of good report, if there's any virtue, if there's any praise, think on these things. And so that's kind of what we're, you know, in that Jesus name, that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. Does it measure up to who he is, what he says his name stands for? So those things which you have both learned and received and heard and seen, do. And the God of peace shall be with you. So that's Paul just immediately after saying, think about all these things, da, 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 da. He said, you've learned it, you've received it, you've heard it, you've seen it, do it. Okay, and then Proverbs 23:7, you can look in different versions of the Bible, and you can find out you can see 2 main different scriptures. One is for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Or as a man thinketh, so is he. Or you can also read, for he is keeping track, inwardly counting the cost. And so if you look at it like that, I'm sitting there thinking about how keeping track of how much your words weigh and measuring the cost of the words that you speak. And so I like that one a lot. I like as a man thinketh, so is he, but also that considering the cost that it is for the words that come out of your mouth. Also the scripture talks about you'll be held account for every idle word. So instead of thinking that as we think of it at the end, la, la, la. No, let's think about it right now. What are your idle words that you're speaking? Are you speaking, oh, of course, that always happens to me. Of course, I would be the one to get that. I would get the short end of the stick, or of course, I'm going to have a flat tire. I mean, that's just the way things go for me. So those idle words, and idle just means not, it's just not worth anything, or they're nothing. Those produce bad results. So be aware of what comes out of your mouth. Okay, so we talked about water just a minute ago. Has anybody seen these pictures before? Dr. Masaru Emoto has a book called, he has several books like The Secrets of Water, or I don't know, he has a couple other water books. So this is what has happened. He spoke, videos, wrote on the containers these different words. And so the water stayed in there, and then they froze the water. And this is the crystals from these words. So love, of course, is really nice and pretty. Thank you. Thank you. I love thank you. It is so symmetrical and beautiful and clear. It's really neat. And then, of course, I hate you and other negative words that he tested are just erratic and yucky looking. So we have a little video, and it's about 3 minutes long. And so we're going to learn more about this water. Okay, now I can't hear her talking. Okay. I said, sorry about that. I said it's really impactful to me how much our words make an impact. And so I want you to consider, most of you have watched the video, day 6 of John Maxwell of the relationship series that we're sharing. He talks about doing things. He says, instead of telling people what to do, take the journey with them. That's what John Maxwell says. So you can see the water of you telling somebody just to do it, and then versus the one that says, let's do it. So when you include people, or whenever you are including yourself in their journey, that's the difference in the result. So just like the video said, it said 60% water. I've heard 75 or more percent water. And so whatever it is that you're speaking over yourself, those water crystals are taking that form. So water is the mirror that has the ability to show us what we cannot see. It is a blueprint for our reality, which can change with a single positive thought. All it takes is faith if you're open to it. Okay, so let's get into why we gathered tonight. Let's define what is a paradigm. So a paradigm is part of the conditioning of the mind, our conditioning thought patterns. And so, of course, I like to look up words. Conditioning, one of the first things that they compared it to in the dictionary was the Pavlov experiment, where the dog, Pavlov would feed the dog and ring a bell. And then eventually he got to where he would just ring the bell, and the dog would salivate, waiting for the meal. And the meal may not come, but the salivation happened. And so that's conditioning. So changing a behavior by rewarding or punishing. I think about that story about the crabs in the bucket, right? You don't have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, because they will continue to pull each other down. That's what they do. They're like, oh, no, you can't get out. So they're constantly pulling each other down. So it can be a negative conditioning or a positive conditioning, depending on whether you're, well, it just depends on, the way you were raised or whatever. We all have some good conditioning and maybe some not so good conditioning. But you as an adult want to choose what you condition yourself for. Okay, it's also a mental program in your subconscious with almost exclusive control of your habitual behavior. And so the subconscious is the part that we may not realize is the one playing the tape, but it is definitely in control of our habitual behavior. I was going to look at the chat. Okay. So almost all of your behavior is habitual. From the time that you get up in the morning, the way you eat, the way you exercise, the way you work, relax, how much money you make, the way you interact with others, even the first foot you put on your pants. And so, interestingly enough, the foot that you put your pants on with, or your underwear, that was determined by your parents. Did you know that? That's because they would help you put your pants on, and they would say, no, not that foot, the other foot, right? So they would help you get started, and they would hand you the pants a certain way, not that foot, the other foot. And so you were conditioned to put your pants on a certain way. Okay, so no matter how hard you try, it is difficult to earn more, to do more, and be more until you change your mental program. Until you shift that paradigm, it's difficult to earn more, do more, and be more. So it's difficult to get ahead unless you make that change. I learned how to clear the drawing off of there. Okay, so Bob Proctor says that a paradigm is a multitude of habits that are fixed in your subjective mind that are controlling your behavior. So it's a multitude of habits that's fixed in your subjective mind or your subconscious mind that are controlling your behavior. So what paradigms are you living with that are not the truth? We all have them, and we all live by some paradigms that we think it is the truth, and it is not. So let's take a look at this and see what this is all about.
Pô, sabes que isso é uma televisão?
So I saw that just the other day. And it was like, it was so surprising to me that that dog did that, but he has this idea of what a pizza is, and by golly, he's going to try to get it, right? And he keeps licking that, thinking that he's going to have that taste, and I'm even wondering if he's thinking that he's tasting it. That's like us going back to a paradigm that we've been stuck in and expecting different results. Like we just keep coming back to that. We think it's that pizza, and it's not. It's just a picture of the pizza. So habits, let's talk about habits, because he talked about it's a multitude of habits, right? So if you don't replace a bad habit with a good one, you'll automatically make another bad habit. Bob Proctor, his example is that he used to find himself in the bar, and he'd be sitting there at the bar and he'd go, man, this is a bunch of bums that are staying at this bar. And then all of a sudden he realized, I'm one of those people. And so he literally got up and decided that he was never going to drink again and that he was never going to go back to the bar. And he said he didn't. But what he did was he went to the racetrack. And so he said instead of paying the bar, helping them get wealthy, he went and started feeding the horses. And so he realized that if you don't create a new good habit, even if you stop one bad habit, you'll pick up another bad habit. So an idea that has been planted in your subconscious mind and repetitively fed for a sufficient amount of time that you act on without any thought to it, that is what a habit is. That's how you define a habit. So it's also any idea that you keep dwelling on and impressing upon your subconscious mind, and it becomes fixed in your subconscious mind. So if you can imagine, does anybody ever have any negative self-talk or have a negative tape playing in their head? Let me know in the chat about that. And so what happens is you can be playing that tape over and over in your head, and if you continue to dwell upon that and then you get disappointed, you have an emotion that's associated with it, it gets locked into your subconscious mind. So it's much easier when you mess up again or whatever, it's much easier to access that disappointment and that tape that you're not good enough or whatever it is that you speak over yourself. The more you tie emotions or experiences to it, the more that it gets anchored into your subconscious. So a habit is nothing but an idea that is fixed in the subconscious mind that you act on without giving any conscious thought. So if you play that tape in your mind all the time, then it's a habit. If you just go straight to it, it's like the way your brain works is you create neural pathways. And so the things that you say to yourself over and over, or you affirm with yourself, create like these super highways where they get connected so fast you don't even realize what's happening. And so when you are working on new neural pathways, it's a little bit different. You have to observe that negative pattern, and then you have to choose to change it. And so what you can do is a little experiment here with your hands. I wish I could see everyone, but I want you to take your hands and just put them together like this. Okay, just cross your hands. However it is that you do it, now do it the other way. Does it feel weird? Let me know if it feels weird to you. I'm getting to where mine feels it feels almost the same, but I still go to that first one. That's my first natural thing. So you actually have to consciously change that pattern, but the more you do it, the more it will feel right. And so it's like creating a new neural pathway. Just even if you've ever heard any studies or read any articles about just taking a different way home from work can expand your mind. And it's funny because my husband, Greg, he is like a homing pigeon. So anytime we've moved, it's taken him months not to make that wrong turn to go home, because he has a certain way that he does it. And so it's interesting that once those habits are created, they are so set until you consciously change them. So let's see what some people have said here. Yeah, I've replaced it with I am good. Awesome, Mom. All right. Had a lot of negative things about myself as a child and allowed it to be constant. Yeah. Yeah, so that's not uncommon, actually. And so the job now as an adult is to take responsibility for making it different. So you can't change the past, but you can change from where you jump off here. Yes, I stop myself and think of something else. Perfect. So there's another step that I'll want you to incorporate in that, Alicia. Yes, it feels weird, the hands. Yeah. Tina cringed just watching me do it. Yeah. And Doe makes wrong turns a lot. So are the wrong turns because of habit? You're going somewhere else just mentally in your mind? Okay, so is worry a habit? Think about that one. One does not simply waste everyone's time and energy with unnecessary negative speculation. And that's pretty much what worry is just negative speculation. Most of the time it doesn't even happen. Therefore, it's a waste of your time, in my opinion. Okay, so let's create a new habit. So Bob Proctor, he actually trained an insurance company's agents to change only 2 habits. So what he changed was he had them change when they were getting in front of a prospect. So he said, get in front of a prospect by 9 a.m. every single morning. And then his other thing was ask everyone that you talk to purchase $100,000 worth of life insurance. He said you don't have to sell it, just give them the opportunity to purchase it. And so what ended up happening is that his training and the agent's execution of these habits increased the insurance company's profits by millions. One executive even said he thought it was by billions just by changing those 2 habits. How cool is that? That's pretty awesome. So of course I have to give you a challenge. And so the challenge to change habits in September are these 2 things. 1, check your virtual office every day. Now, I want you to chat with me. What exactly will you be looking for in your virtual office every single day? If you're new and you have no members, you'll be looking for a member, right? And then you'll be discovering what you can find in the virtual office in the downline viewer. Anybody else have any things that they say that they're going to be looking for? ER orders, yes, new enrollments. So ER orders, I'm gonna make up that mom is thinking along the lines of checking to see if anybody was close to the promos. The neat thing is that when you're in that virtual office and somebody's on Essential Rewards, even if their order hasn't processed, you can hover over the little square and it will tell you what's in their the PV that's in their cart. So the projected PV that they're going to order. And say they were at 189.25. Has that happened? Yes. What do you need to do? Give them a call. Hey, did you know if you added 75 cents or 75.75 more PV, you're going to get another free product? Yeah, so that's something that you're going to be looking for. You're going to check your OGV. Let's see. Yep, new member who signs up with ER who also help 5. Yes. Yep, check new members, processed ER, going inactive, so you can follow up. Exactly, perfect. Yep, hate when I miss seeing their PV just a little lower than when they needed. Yeah, people have lost out on big time stuff for over a quarter. So, yeah, people who you haven't talked with lately, so memory jogger, all that stuff is doing great. Helping people realize they're close to ranking or promotions. Okay, good job. Let's get back on this here. Okay, so the second challenge is to get in the habit of following up. And so during my mentor sessions, and I imagine Shauna's had a little bit of this also, and I know that it's been brought up during some of the calls we've had already, is that maybe you feel like you're being a bother to somebody. And I got Project Broadcast, which is a texting system, and I sent out a broadcast email or text to all my members, and I got a response from somebody that said, oh, thank you so much. I haven't had anybody follow up with me since I got my kit. I really appreciate that you're available. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go check out who this person is. Well, this person's been a member since 2014. So people want to hear from you. And part of our affirmations for this month is that people enjoy hearing from me, right? I believe people want to hear from me. So if you don't believe it yet, continue saying that and until you do believe it. Often feel like a nuisance. Yeah. So make it about them as much as possible. And if you feel like it is about them, then change your affirmation. Make it where you start really believing that you're doing it for their benefit. Yeah, still developing the habit. Very consistent about being inconsistent about follow-up. Well, consistency is not my strong suit, but I do follow up as much as possible. So I usually do it in spurts. So if you're not real good with consistency or doing things on a regular basis, then going in spurts is okay. Do it in your strengths for sure. Just make sure that you're staying in contact. And, I hear Shauna's voice in my head saying, the policies and procedures say that we're supposed to contact our people on a quarterly basis. So no, you don't have to contact them every single week. No. And they may not want to hear from you every single week, but you do want to contact them on a regular basis, at least quarterly, to let them know that you're available to help them out on their journey. Make up your mind, you're going to do it. Think about it every day, all day, until the habit is formed. And so there's a really cool NASA study that says that it takes 28 consecutive days to create a habit. What if you miss a day? Start all over. Start counting again. Seriously, it messes with you. And their study was on vision. And so they turned the astronaut's vision upside down, and it took 28 days. And returning it back to the way we normally see took 28 days. But the people that skipped a day on the training that they were doing to reprogram, they had to start again, and it still took the 28 consecutive days. Yeah, check those boxes. Okay, so funnel your focus is a really great thing for you if you want something that will help you have a checklist. Okay, so you only want to change 2 habits at one time. Otherwise, they become too vague and it's hard to keep up with them. So 2 at a time, and we gave you 2 for September. So let me know if you're going to take the challenge to check your virtual office every day and get in the habit of following up. That means that you would need to follow up with somebody every single day. Another thing on the follow-up is you can ask Shauna also what her opinion is, but me, I'm like, let's get a hold of them the way they want to be gotten a hold of. So if they tell you that they do not answer phone numbers that are not programmed into their phone, I wouldn't even bother calling them. I would text them or whatever. My sister-in-law said, oh, that person doesn't respond any other way unless I contact them through Facebook Messenger. Well, do it that way. That's perfect. So you being aware of how they like to be contacted is very powerful for you. All right, lots of people accepting the challenge. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so let's look at this awesome Venn diagram. Does anybody remember those? This is to develop a habit. So when you know what to do and why to do it, you have the desire or the want to do it, and then you have the skills to do it, then you can change that habit. So if you have a habit that has been, maybe you've had it your whole life and you know it's a bad habit, the more knowledge that you can obtain about what to do and why to do it, and the more desire that you have and the more skills you get to be able to change that habit, you can. And so if you ever smoked or anything, that's a very addictive habit. And people say the more often you quit, the higher your chances are for success. And it's true. The more often you practice quitting smoking, the more likely you are actually going to quit smoking. So give yourself credit for trying, or give yourself credit for doing it. Imagine the baby that learns how to walk. You never say the baby failed to walk, right? The baby's failing. No, the baby falls and the baby gets back up. There's no expectation that they're going to just stand up and walk, that there's not going to be a learning curve, right? So that's really the idea that you need to put on every single thing that you do, that you're constantly working for success, towards improvement. You're failing forwards, and it's not even failing. You are the one that's putting yourself out there to try this and try to succeed. And so every one of those is a win. You're getting closer and closer and closer. Yeah, the baby's learning, right? We're babies and we're learning. So that's one habit. And then the other, or one way to look at a habit, another one is this paradigm. So this is the habit of choice. And so you see the paradigm, or you acknowledge that there's a paradigm, and then you can change your behavior, and then you can get different results. So the observation is the first part of that. Knowing that you have paradigms, and then acknowledging that you have it, observing when it's happened, and then changing your behavior, and then you can get a different result. So I had a call this week from a team member that she's been using the oils for a while. However, she's never had an emotional response to the oils until now. And I get this text message that said, something really weird happened. Can you call me whenever you get a minute? So I called her, and she said, the strangest thing happened. I'm really high anxiety. I know that about myself, but I don't usually notice when it's happening until it's happened, and then I go, oh, okay, well, that happened again. And she said, I was using, she was using Awaken and Magnify Your Purpose and one other oil. She was using those, she was diffusing those. And so, of course, she had an emotional response. She said, what happened is that she said, usually I get really, really, really worked up and then I don't get anything done. And so she got really, really worked up, but she said, the weird thing is that I noticed that I was doing it. And then I thought, I'm not going to do that today. And she said it was just unlike anything she's ever experienced. And it's more than likely that most of you that are veteran oilers have had something like that happen. But she was really, really impressed that she observed what was going on. So that was the beginning of her paradigm shift. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to hear from Gwen Tenney. That's Shauna and my mindset coach. You may be in the diamond frame of mind, but she says, imagine a car, imagine a tree, imagine a dog, imagine your mind. And you go blank, right? And it's because we don't really have a picture of our mind, and we think in pictures. So when we think of something, we really benefit from having a picture to associate with that idea. So some guy that, if you want the name of him, I will look him up. He invented this little picture. And so it looks like a whole body, but what it actually is we've got our conscious mind up top, subconscious mind down below, and then attached to that is our body. And so this is where your thinking happens, is up in your conscious mind. And so we've been thinking a lot. We've been looking at a lot of videos. We've been reading a lot of stuff. We've been saying a lot of affirmations, right? That's where our thinking happens. This is where your paradigm lives, in your subconscious mind. Interestingly enough, when you're a baby, the conscious mind is not there. So you're not having any thinking, you're just receiving all this stuff. So when it happens over and over and over and over and over and over all the time, that becomes your paradigm. So that's why all the psychologists and everything that you hear anytime they talk about when you were young, you know, people go, oh, I don't want to deal with that whenever I was young stuff. Well, the thing is that you had all this programming when you were so little that you didn't have any control of, that by the time you were 4 or 5 or 6 years old, you had all these ideas in your mind about the way the world worked, the way you should put on your pants, the way you should which hand you should write with, all those things. And some of it's genetics and some of it's environment. But you didn't have any ability to think about it and go, that prove all things. You didn't have that. You didn't have that quality when you were little. So you were just receiving information. So there's a lot of paradigms in there that really are just crap. And then we have our body, and this is where our results are. And so all the thinking and all the paradigms and all the shifting and all that stuff doesn't actually happen in your body. It happens in your mind, and then you have a response to that in your body. So your conscious mind makes up about 5 to 15% of your success. Subconscious mind has a large part to play at 35 to 65%. And then your body has 5 to 15% of that success outcome. So really the subconscious mind is where you're going to see the results when you shift that paradigm. So we're going to watch a video. I'm going to check the chat here. Need to get rid of all that crap. There you go. Have a garage sale. Give it away for free to nobody, right? Dump it in the garbage. Paradigms are often from the perspective of a baby or toddler. It does not perceive things the same way as an adult. Perfect. That is very true. So let's listen to Bob and see what he has to say. This is about a 13-minute video that we're going to watch.
You know, I went through how the conscious mind works, how the subconscious, and how the body is an expression of the mind. And as you go through that, if you go through it a few times, you're going to see, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Now, I want you to think of this for a moment. When you impress an idea upon your subconscious mind, that alters the vibration of this instrument we call our body. See, our body is a molecular structure. Really what it is. It's a mass of energy in a very high speed of vibration. Now, we invented a word to describe our conscious awareness of vibration, and that word is feeling. If you ask a person, you know, how are you today? They'll say, well, I'm feeling fine, or I don't feel that good, I feel great. You never hear a person say, oh, I'm consciously aware of being emotionally involved with a negative idea, so therefore I've moved into a negative vibration. But that's exactly what happens. So, you see, as we start to understand this, and we become aware that we're not feeling too good, we can change it. Now, it takes a little training, but you can do it. We are really in charge of how we feel. Now, we let other people upset us, but we don't have to let other people upset us. We don't need to react to them. We can respond. We can listen to what they're saying, and they say, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's just not what I'm like. And we can hold our own idea of ourselves. You see, it's important that we grasp how the mind works and that we understand the relationship of the body to the mind and the mind to the body. Now, it's our results that we want to change. Now, our results could be in our physical body. It may want to be, you may want to cast off a few pounds. You may want to put on a couple of pounds. You may want to have a little higher energy. See, all the energy there ever was or ever will be is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Everything's energy. You know, you'll hear people say, where does he get all the energy? Where does she get all the... Nobody gets energy. Everybody releases energy. Desire is the triggering mechanism that, whoo, lets the energy flow. Now, let's go back and have a quick review. Here you've got the little stick person here. There you've got the conscious mind, and remember, you have the sensory factors hooked up to the conscious mind. And then you have the subconscious mind, and then you have the body. Now, the conscious mind has the ability to choose thoughts. Those thoughts turn into pictures. We turn the pictures over to the subconscious mind, and then the subconscious mind expresses the action. All right? Now, what is the problem? Remember, we said the subconscious mind had no ability to reject. We said the subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. How did we arrive on the scene? I'll tell you. When you arrived on the scene, you did not have any conscious faculties developed. The sensory factors weren't even developed. This is how you arrived. That's called the little life. That's the baby. No conscious mind. So there's the subconscious mind. It's wide open. You can put anything in it. You see, your subconscious mind is programmed genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. It's built right into the genes at birth. But then we're programmed environmentally. Carl Mendinger from the Mendinger Foundation in Topeka one time said, environment is more important than heredity. Why do you think you speak the language you speak? You speak that language because you are surrounded by people that speak that language in your little life. And the language just went right into the subconscious mind. If you grew up in a home that was bilingual, you learned both languages. I had an associate over in Kuala Lumpur, had a little boy, he spoke 4 languages at 4 years of age. And you'd look at that and you'd say, my gosh. No. The baby was programmed. Why do you like the food you like? It's programming. That's right. Now, let's stop and think about the environment we were raised in. Here's the baby, and look at the ideas and the thoughts and the concepts that are going on around that baby are going right into that baby's subconscious mind. Now, through repetition, over and over and over again, and remember, the baby's getting it all day, all week, every week, all month, every month, all year, and this goes on for 4 or 5 years. And the baby reaches the age of 4 or 5 where they can start to think that baby's programmed. That baby is programmed to think like the people it had been surrounded by. If the people that surrounded that baby had gone right through school, the baby will probably grow up and go right through school. If the people that were surrounding that baby always lived in hard times, never had any money, always in debt, that's probably how that baby's going to grow up. Now, this is bizarre, but this is how it happens. It's how it happens for me. I was raised during a depression. We didn't have any money. There was always talk about no money. You should be satisfied with what you've got. Well, that's not true. You should never be satisfied with what you've got. You should be happy with what you've got. Dissatisfaction is actually a creative state. So here we have now a baby that has been programmed. Now, let's take and think for a moment. What happens when that baby starts to think for itself? Now think of this. The paradigm controls the vibration controls the action which produces the result. Now here we go. Here you got the baby with the paradigm, and the conscious faculties have developed. They have the ability to think. There's a power flowing into them. What are they going to think? They're going to think thoughts that are in harmony with that paradigm. That's right. We've been raised to believe you go to work to earn money. Do you know that working is the very worst way to earn money? That's right. You should go to work for satisfaction, not for money. You provide service for money. You can earn money while you're sleeping. In fact, we have programs where we teach people to actually earn more money while they're sleeping than they'll ever need to use while they're awake. You say, well, that's a pipe dream. No, no. That's a paradigm that causes you to think that's a pipe dream. There's people doing that are nowhere near as bright as you. But here we are now. We've got the person. They've been programmed in their little life genetically and environmentally. That paradigm is nothing but a multitude of habits. A habit is an idea that's been programmed into the subconscious mind over and over and over again. Now, the paradigm is literally controlling the behavior. Consciously, you can think of one thing, but subconsciously, the other idea will be controlling you. See, we can sit down and we can read these self-help books, we can listen to the recordings, and we say, yeah, well, I can do that. That makes sense. That's logical. But then we can't do it. Why? Now think of this for a moment. I want you to imagine that you're going to accept an idea right now to turn your annual income to a monthly income. You say, well, I'd like that, but will you do it? Probably not. Your paradigm will stop you. See, your paradigm literally controls the results. Now, let's think of how the paradigm was formed. The paradigm was formed through repetition. The idea is being planted in your subconscious mind. Now, understand your paradigm dictates your logic. Your paradigm controls how you utilize your time. Your paradigm controls your perception of situations. Your paradigm controls your effectiveness. Your paradigm controls the amount of money you earn. If you want to change your life, you must change your paradigm. You see, to most people, it's illogical that they could take and turn their annual income to a monthly income. But if you follow our teachings, we'll show you exactly how to do that. We'll show you how to accomplish anything you want to accomplish, because what we're focused on is showing you how to change the paradigm. When the paradigm's changed, your life changes. It's a beautiful concept. It's an absolutely phenomenal concept. Now you know why you're getting the results you're getting. It has nothing to do with your intellect. Your intellect, you can figure out how to do things. That doesn't mean you're going to do them. You'll hear people say, I believe that, but their behavior would indicate they've never even heard of it. Why? We believe something on a conscious level. On a subconscious level, the paradigm believes something else. There's a word called praxis. Praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. We've got to take the beliefs that we have consciously, that we determine by thinking, and plant them in the place of the old belief. See, I used to believe that I couldn't do anything better than I was doing. I felt fortunate that I was on the fire department. The idea of building a company that operated all around the world, furthest thing from my mind. But you know something? As I changed my paradigm, my whole world changed. That's what we do. That's what it's all about. You've got to change your paradigm if you want to change your life. Now, you can study all you want. If you don't gain an understanding how to alter that program, and that's what the paradigm is, it's a program. It's a multitude of concepts that are fixed in your subconscious mind that literally control your behavior. It's a beautiful concept to understand. It's a terrible one if you don't understand it, because it literally controls your life. Why do you think most people go right through their life and keep getting the same results year after year after year? Well, it's just the way it is, and they don't know. We should be taught this in school, but we're not. How is the paradigm formed? Through the repetition of information. How's the paradigm changed? Repetition of information. Now let's suppose you're having a difficult time with money. You find that you got more going out than coming in. You've got to change your concept about money. How do you do that? Through the repetition of an idea. That's where affirmations comes in. I'll give you one that I've been using for years. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. You don't just say that once or twice. You've got to repeat that maybe 1,000 times a day, every day for maybe 90 days. And you'll start to change your whole concept about money. Wealthy people all have multiple sources of income. Now I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I drove around with a battery-operated record player and a long-playing record. And I played it over and over again every day for probably a couple of years. This was so totally illogical. It was behavior. Everybody thought I was losing it. And I'm reading the same book every day, Think and Grow Rich. As a matter of fact, I'm still reading the same book. And it was the repetition of Earl Nightingale's information and the book that changed the paradigm. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I did it. Do you know, I had a man come up to me in the Waldorf Hotel in New York, the Waldorf Astoria, at the end of a 3-day program, and he said, Bob, I really want to thank you for what you've just given to me. He said, for the first time in my life, I've understood how I accomplished what I did. I said, what did you do? He said, I won the gold medal in the decathlon in the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia in 1957. That's right. Milt Campbell. And he said, I never understood how I did it. He said, the next time you run a seminar, I want to bring my boys. And he did. Milt and I became great friends. In fact, Milt has a key to our house. He can come stay there anytime he wants. I live in Toronto, he's in New Jersey. But here was the top athlete in the world, a very best athlete in the world. He didn't understand how he got there. Most people that are very accomplished cannot tell you why they are. That's why they are. They've rewritten the program. They changed the paradigm. They might not have understood how they did it, but they did it. That's what our company is all about. We teach people how to change paradigms. I want to thank you for watching this, but I'm going to ask you to share it with other people. Share it with them. Say, come and watch this. Start a rapport. Build a rapport with people, you know. It's a great way to live, and this is great information to understand. Thanks for listening. This is Bob Proctor. I enjoy sharing it with you.
All right. We just have a little bit more to go. I just realized the time during that. My oldest is 6, but I still have time with the other ones. Yeah. Well, we've all messed up our kids, Paula. Like most of us tonight are listening from that standpoint. Oh my goodness, I used to say that. Or, yeah, Kim, she's like, we can help the grandbabies. Yes, you can. Yeah, what the affirmation he shared, Anita, I'll type that out, and so Shauna can post it in her group, and I'll post it in our group. So, yeah. So, yes, there will be a replay. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to the presentation.
You know, I went through how the conscious mind works, how the
get past
subconscious, and how the...
No, let's see. There we go. Okay, so how do we change our paradigm? Bob told us a little bit about this, but the same way that the original paradigm was formed, through the repetition of ideas. By exposing yourself to a new idea over and over again with the goal of replacing an old belief or beliefs that are in your subconscious mind. So what do we have? What have we been focusing on all month? Is our month 1 affirmations that have to do with belief and relationships. So this is serious business, guys. That's what I have to say. This 5 months can radically change your life, not because Shauna and I are super awesome, but because we are putting you in front of people that can definitely teach you how to change those paradigms. So if you actually do the work, and it may be like, what? Just me repeating stuff? What? Is that going to do anything? Yes, it will. Like he said, if you do it 1,000 times a day for 90 days, you're going to see some results. All of a sudden, your mind, you're going to be seeing things differently and observing things differently. And when you observe what's going on, you actually get to choose how you respond. So recognize, release, and replace. These are 3 things that you can do. Write down one thing that goal, that dream, that challenge that you have not resolved in your life. Write down every association that you connect to this thing. And then look for any associations that you have with that one. There should be, after you write so many words and so many associations, you'll see a pattern in there. So then you address the paradigm. What is the paradigm, and why? Why am I believing that? Pick the ones that have the biggest negative impact. Why do I think like this? Where does it come from? Where did I get such an idea? And this, whenever I read all this stuff, it makes me think of this story about the lady who cut the ham, right? And her husband said, "Why are you cutting the ham like that?" And she goes, "Well, because that's the way we've always done it." And he goes, "Yeah, but why are you throwing this piece of meat out? Like, you've cut it a certain way." She goes, "I don't know. I'm going to call my mom and ask her." So she gets on the phone and asks her mom, "Why do we cut the end off the ham? I don't understand." She goes, "Well, we've just always done it that way." "Yeah, but why are we doing it that way?" "I don't know. I'll call your grandma and ask her." So she calls her mom and says, "Mom, why do we cut the end off the ham?" And she goes, "Well, honey, I don't know why you're cutting the end off your ham, but it wouldn't fit in my pan." So that whole paradigm was created just because the mom saw her mom cutting the end off the ham. So, and the whole reason she did it was because it wouldn't fit in her pan. They have pans that are bigger, the whole ham fits, but they're still cutting the end of the ham off. Okay, so that's time to ask, why am I doing this way? And then finally, you create an affirmation, repeat it daily, and you'll notice yourself thinking and acting differently. So those affirmations are seriously life and death for you. Take it very seriously. Okay, so what do we focus upon? We're back. Romans 3:31. I love the message. It says, by shifting our focus from what we do to what God does, don't we cancel out all our careful keeping of the rules and the ways that the God has commanded? It says, not at all. What happens, in fact, is that by putting that entire way of life in its proper place, we confirm it. And so all the story that I make up about that scripture is that when we put things in the right place, we so many times we associate something with good or bad, or our circumstances. The tire, getting a flat, like, oh, that ruins our whole day. Well, have you been taking care of your tires? Because if you haven't and you get a flat tire, what do you expect? And so you have to consider that if you put things in its proper place and give it the weight that it deserves, like that flat tire in the grand scheme of things is no big deal, right? Even if we're strapped for money to get it fixed, in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. So if we put it in our proper place, it's going to all be confirmed, and it's going to be good that we're shifting our focus. So we consider whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good report, whatever is virtuous, and whatever is praiseworthy. This is your standard. And if your thoughts are not on this, you need a paradigm shift. I mean, it's easy. It's that simple. Like, if you're not focused on that kind of stuff, things have to change. There are things in my life that I've got to put up against that and decide what I'm going to do about it. So we're going to think on these things. That means giving yourself credit where credit is due. I have one person commenting to me every day, or they're supposed to be every single day, 3 wins that they've had. And so sometimes it's, I loaded the dishwasher today. I made sure that my kids were fed today. Those are big wins. Let's give ourselves credit where credit's due. So we demolish arguments and every pretension against the knowledge of God. And every pretension that's against the knowledge of God is anything that's not true, anything that's not honest, anything that's not pure, not lovely, not of good rapport, not of virtuous, and not praiseworthy. All those things are against the knowledge of God, and we are to demolish them. Demolish those arguments. Somebody giving you flack because you are learning new things and you're stretching your mind and they're making fun of you for it, demolish that argument, you're doing the right thing for yourself. So just remember that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so before it gets on your tongue, it's in your brain. So you just keep taking those thoughts captive and think about all the things that are wonderful. So anyone who ever accomplished anything didn't know how they were going to do it. They just knew that they were going to do it. And the last thing is, if you think it's hard or it may be difficult, remember the words of Charles Spurgeon. By perseverance, the snail reached the ark. That was a big feat for that snail. And that snail accomplished it. So you can accomplish great things too. Even if it looks like a big hill you got to climb, you can do it. So let me know what your favorite takeaway was. I'm going to unmute everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time, and we're about 14 minutes over. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to say what you liked about what you heard tonight.
Thanks, Sunshine.
I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Got some people up now. I love the affirmations several times a day. Yeah, Mom, I can give you some more information on those steps.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Who's been doing the Believe affirmations daily? Shauna is asking. Yay.
Those affirmations are so life-changing, really.
They are. Yeah. Anyone else? Anybody had a good experience with their affirmations so far?
I just keep saying them over and over when I get that negative talk.
Awesome.
It's great to start out that day, the morning, with the affirmation that my business, the people need me to contact them. I'm not bugging them. They're looking forward to hearing more about our products.
Yeah.
And me touching base with them.
Yes. Yes, Diane, I did. I like that affirmation a lot.
I think so many of us have these self-limiting beliefs, and that we think that people don't want to hear from us. I can tell you, I'm doing Project Broadcast too, and that has been a game changer. And I've been doing this Tipster Tuesday and just putting out little tips for people. And I am having more interaction with people, and I can tell they want to hear from me. I mean, who knew, I think so many of us do that.
Yeah.
Self-limiting. Yeah.
So who likes to hear from Shauna? Who likes to hear from me? Consider that for just a minute, because I believe that people like to hear from me. And so I just believe that. So it must be so, right? So everybody's special and everybody has something wonderful to offer. So I challenged my group on all their mentor sessions to do visualization of their goals or their BHAGs or their why they exist to be accomplished, as they're imagining that those are already accomplished. So part of this journey is whenever you have those affirmations, the more you consider it's already done, the more you attach emotion to it, the more you think about what it feels like for that to already be accomplished, you are setting yourself up for that to go straight into your subconscious mind, and you're going to get much faster results then. So that pie in the sky stuff really does work, and I really do encourage you to get your hopes up big time. Yeah. Thank you, Charlene. Let's see. Actually decided to start a gratitude journal to change the negative thoughts I have. Yesterday was day one. Awesome. Yeah. So are you doing the 3 things that you're grateful for? Anybody else have any thoughts they want to add? So just remember, go ahead. Yeah.
I just have to share this. You know, your father and I did Napoleon Hill before you were created.
Awesome.
And it's so cool to know that that knowledge is in you. And that may be why you're a different thinker. We put a lot of ideas into your head when you were still in my belly. But seriously, we would talk to her. And Justin's also a weird thinker, so maybe that's it. Although the Chapmans have something in their blood that makes them think differently. Don't you know, Rachel? Do you agree?
Well, I think differently.
I think it's a line of genius. You know, as long as you put it towards something positive, it's great. Yeah.
So I just want to share it. The law of attraction, I don't know if any of you have watched The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, or if you've seen her. She has a book. There's also a video that she did. Bob Proctor's in that video, but it's a great video. If anybody is interested in this, it might be something you might be interested in watching.
Yeah, I think that's a freebie on Netflix or something, yeah.
I think it might be, yeah.
Okay. All right, ladies, and Dylan, if you're still on here, it was wonderful to be with you all this week. So next week we're going to be talking about follow-up. That's going to be the topic that we're going over, and we're kicking off September just right. Shauna, do you have anything else to add?
Just going to say that we will be sharing the affirmations for September starting in just a few days. And so if you were not doing your affirmations in August, I hope that this information has helped you see a little bit more about why we are giving those affirmations to you in the first place and why we are using them. I will say for me, I think it was on day like 23, I realized I'd been doing my affirmations on belief for 21 days, and there was some things that I did not even understand up here, thought process why I was believing it, but I was like, it's because I am changing my belief system. My paradigm had switched, and things that I didn't believe in before in myself, not just outward things, but in myself, I was believing. And so next month, we're going to be talking about self-worth. And I know for me, back in 2012, when Sunshyne and I first started going to some different conferences and events, that was the first thing I realized that was kind of an issue for me, was my self-worth. So I'm really excited about the affirmations that we're going to be sharing with you guys for September. Don't worry about what you didn't do in August. Start fresh in September. Get right into it, and know on September 1st that is day one, and see what happens after you do it for 21, 22, 23, 28 days. I'm curious to hear what everybody has to say at the end of next month. All right?
Awesome. Thank you, Shauna. Yes, next month's a new month. Let's just keep rolling, keep changing, keep improving our lives so we can go help others. I heard that over and over during all of my mentor sessions. I know Shauna did too. Like, no matter what you were destined to do, at the end of things, you want to pay it forward so others can pay it forward. How cool is that? That's multiplication and duplication. All right, ladies, good night. Have a good evening. And Dylan, if you're on, talk to you soon. Make every day count. Bye-bye.
Bye.